And Earth Day is important not only here in Chicago, but around the world. It shows you what is the importance of our society. It should be our children, seniors, and the environment. Those are the major issues confronting us on a daily basis. How well we take care of the air, the water, and the land, and that is our responsibility. And here in Chicago, every year we basically honor Earth Day, but every day we're doing it on a daily basis. The Chicago Climate Action Plan is basically a sustainability plan for the city of Chicago. And what we did is we brought the non-for-profits and academic people together. And then we brought all the businesses and government together and said, let's talk about a realistic plan for the environment, for the air, the water, and the land. What can we do together? And who can basically measure the success of many of the programs that we may have or the private sector? And that's what the Chicago Climate Action Plan is doing. We submit from one department to another department all the results that we've done, all the changes that we've dealt. We've asked the private sector as well and find out how well we're doing. It's an outside, basically, agency that overlooks us, a non-for-profit organization that overlooks our success stories. And everybody can do it in their homes, in their schools, in their churches, in their community. You don't have to wait for somebody to do it. And we're very, very thankful for that. For 22 years, I've always believed that nature can coexist in a large metropolitan area like ours. Most of us talk about nature. We have to go someplace to find where nature is. But like anything else, just looking out here at the plaza and the trees, the fountain, and then going over to City Hall and looking at a green roof with basically raising honey there, and then going to Millennium Park and the lake and the river. This city made a commitment many, many years ago to protect the lakefront. We're the only city in the world that really has protected the lakefront. Very few cities have ever protected lakefront. Businesses and everyone else have taken over the lakefront. But here in Chicago, it's all open space and basic protection of the Great Lakes, and that is extremely important. Secondly, is the Chicago River. The Chicago River is part of that. But you have to think of our forefathers. The Chicago River was basically polluting all the Great Lakes. And we're the only city in the Great Lakes said that we want to protect the Great Lakes. No other city in the Great Lakes did that. We had to reverse the flow of the Chicago River to basically protect our drinking water. No other city did that. All the other rivers flowed in, and they basically were polluting much of the Great Lakes, unfortunately. But Chicago had the foresight to change that. Now there's a plan to basically allow the Chicago River basically flow back into the Great Lakes. It's called the lake diversion case. We take hundreds of millions of gallons of water out a day, which has a huge effect upon Canada and the United States. So that is something that I think in the future will be a better environmental change for the city of Chicago. We talked about the Chicago Climate Action Plan, which would basically detail, I told you about a strategy dealing with lowering greenhouse gas emissions and address climate change. And everybody can do it on a daily basis. For water conservation, 160 million gallons of water per day are being saved every time we fix old infrastructure in the water and sewer department. That is amazing. 160 million gallons a day. That is, we have, of course, we have planted more trees over the last 20 years, over 600,000 trees. We have equates to removing the air pollution from 40,000 cars annually in the city of Chicago. Since 1998, we have committed over 1,500 new acres in the city of Chicago for open space. Of course, our Chicago Tree Initiative is that we have non-for-profit and other organizations to raise money to plant trees all over the city, which is really important. And today, I'm a big biker. I think Chicago is the most friendliest bike city in the world, in the nation. It has 50 miles of bike paths, 1,100 miles of designated bike lanes, 11,000 racks. We're one of the few cities that has a state-of-the-art cycle center called McDonald's at Millennium Park. It's one of the finest state-of-the-art bicycle stations in the world. And that's being replicated all over America and the world, these bike stations. We install more than 90 miles of landscape medians. That was to basically clean the air on many of the major streets, beautify the city, absorb the stormwater. Stormwater is something that we want to capture before it goes in the combined water and sewer system. That is extremely important. It saves you an enormous amount of money. Instead of cleaning that stormwater, basically absorb it as quickly as possible. We have installed over 1,900 alleys, miles of alleyways, which is really important. And we're looking at permeable pavers so the water can basically hold there instead of putting the combined and water system. Chicago was the first city to open a permanent household chemical and computer recycling center. We accept computers for recycling. We allow for safe disposal of recycled household hazardous chemicals. And that is one thing we have to look at industry. We should not be taking these. They should be able to, those industries should be able to take those things back into where you purchase them, that you get a rebate on them, because many times they're just thrown in garbage, they're thrown out in fields, and of course are very, very dangerous. And that's why we established this up on Goose Island. Chicago has more than 1 megawatt of solar power generating capacity, which is more than virtually every other city in the country. That is amazing. We're the largest solar farm in the south side of the city of Chicago. We have to remember that it's the largest in the United States. We're very, very happy with that. Also at the business community, we have a green business strategy that helps more and more businesses to be compatible with the environment, such as, to be very frank, how much paper they're collecting, how much plastic, glass, even in the office buildings downtown, which is really important for all of us, everybody be part of the solution dealing with Earth Day on a daily basis here in Chicago. The Daley Center, where we are today, has achieved the Energy Star status. Chicago now has 88 LEED certified buildings, 32 of which are city-owned buildings. We lead the way in the nation by 2-to-1 margin in LEED certified municipal buildings. So in my theory about government, we should lead by example, and we should not tell everybody to do it. The city should do it. So all of our buildings, which are becoming more and more LEED certified as we build new ones and we retrofit the older ones. Also in construction, every new city facility as a green building is using 20% less energy. We're basically looking at conventional construction, provide for a healthier building, for air quality, and also improve the quality outside the building as well. Chicago is making much more competitive and environmentally friendly to improve energy efficiency, and that's one of the major problems that we have in this country. We are the national leader among cities in green roofs. We have over 600 completed green roofs. We have completed or planned 7 million square feet of green roofs, which is a great asset for the environment. And if you look over Chicago, we want to complete every one of these roofs, and we have a long way to go, but we're very proud of it. We require green roofs to be installed on buildings for developers who receive economic assistance from the city of Chicago. That is very important for us. We have launched a comprehensive water agenda. Water is the key. We talk about oil, talk about gold, but water is the key. And just think, we have the second largest fresh body of water in the world is the Great Lakes. And that's why we have to do everything to protect the Great Lakes and the Chicago River. We have founded the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. We have mayors from Canada, United States, instead of having separate agencies in St. Lawrence Seaway. We basically organize this into one group. All the mayors sit together from St. Lawrence, Canada, United States to discuss the protection of the Great Lakes and all the tributaries that go in and out of the Great Lakes, which is really important. I'll give you an example. McCormick Place expansion, we put a 3,000-foot tunnel to carry all the clean water from the roof to Lake Michigan on McCormick Place. This keeps approximately 55 million gallons of rainwater out of the sewer system. That alone is historical in dealing with the environment, that we're capturing the rainwater clean rainwater, and you're basically disposing it back into the Great Lakes or the river. That's what we have to do when we talk about stormwater. Chicago's incorporating more and more environmentally friendly initiatives, the efforts of United Airlines and others at O'Hare Field. We're very responsible basically in the improvements of O'Hare Field. We have led the way. It's the first time in the history of the country that we had to tell the federal government, remember that, we told the federal government, we have the first LEED certified air traffic control tower in the country. Now think of that, the first. It's only in Chicago, and we require the federal government to follow our guidelines because their guidelines do not have it. So that's very important. Over the years, the city of Chicago received $17 million in the American Recovery Reinvestment Act. We put 650 people to work for green jobs, basically formerly incarcerated people, which has really helped us tremendously. They've weatherized 7,000 homes. They've been a great example of really community partnership. Also, the Chicago Conservation Corps, the student clubs, and all the high schools dealing with conservation and nature. Chicago Conservation Corps leaders we have in different wards in the entire city that are truly involved basically in the environment. It just can't be government alone. It has to be volunteers, it has to be students, it has to be everybody taking all what you have, you're learning, and implement it in your school, and implement it in your home, in your community. That's the only way that this works dealing with the environment. So we are very proud of all the organizations that have worked hard. In the last few years, we saved over $10 million by keeping more than 100,000 metric tons of waste out of the landfills. We call it Waste to Profit Network. It's with 300 businesses, non-for-profit institutions, and municipal government taking more and more out of the garbage. That's simple as that. And that's what you have to do more. Norm has the introduction today of a green taxi program that provides an incentive to the taxi industry to reduce carbon emissions, and that is very important. This program helps the taxi industry purchase cost-effective hybrid alternative fuel vehicles, help the city move closer to reaching carbon emission goals, and provide passengers with trips and modern, environmentally sustainable vehicles. The program uses $1 million in funding from the Clean Cities Grant through the American Recovery Reinvestment Act, which we're very proud of. The City of Chicago has been awarded $15 million for the Chicago Area Alternative Fuels Deployment Project from the U.S. Department of Energy and also the Recovery Act. The project will result in deployment of 554 alternative vehicles and hybrid vehicles in public and private fleets, installation of 153 fueling and electric vehicles, charging stations throughout Chicago. And that's where you have to look. You have to look at the new ideas, whether it's going to be alternative fueling or electric vehicle. There's a debate on that. And I side more with the electric vehicles, I'll be very frank. I want to thank, again, American Airlines, Chicago Department of Environment, Chicago Action Plan team, all those that have been involved in basically making Chicago that nature can coexist. And we're the protectors of the air, we're protectors of the land and the water. Each one of us are stewards of that. And we have to really believe that. Whatever you do in life, you have to have that, take that responsibility personally. It isn't up to government, it's up to people to be the stewards of the environment. Thank you very much.